What's up, everybody? Jimmy Smith. My YouTube channel, getting that started. So this is the first real video on that. Breaking down UFC Fight Night, Raphael Assuncao versus Marlon Moraes. Let's start out with the co-main event. Jose Aldo taking on Renato Carneiro. This is a really fascinating fight. And the reason it is, and I was on Sirius XM this week, subbing in for Luke Thomas, and I talked about Jose Aldo doesn't want to fight any more 5-rounders. Doesn't want any more 5-round fights, doesn't want to fight for the title, championship fights. He's pretty much out of that mix. So his fight against Jeremy Stephens last time out, first 3-rounder he had fought in his entire UFC career. So these 5-round fights, I think, had worn him down a lot. Jose Aldo was one of those guys. His timing didn't really go. He didn't suddenly lose his chin. I think his body just got beat down. Constantly defending his title in 5-rounders over and over and over again. I really think took its toll on him. So that's why I'm giving him a better shot in this fight than I normally would. Normally someone in Jose Aldo's stage is vulnerable to younger, hungrier fighters that, the young eat the old. But going down to 3-rounders, the idea, I think he has 3 fights left in his UFC career. And he can go, in those 3 fights, if he goes to the decision, it's less than 2 full fights that he had before. Okay, so he can go much harder because they're shorter fights. I think that's going to give him a new lease on his career, a new way to look at things, and I think he's going to come in energized. Physically, he hasn't looked bad. I mean, he hung with Holloway in both fights for a bit before he kind of got worn down. And we saw how great Holloway was against Brian Ortega. That's a great champion, and he hung in there for a minute. He didn't get blown out of the water. That's an important caveat too. All of his fights have been. All of his losses have been to phenomenal talent, amazing fighters at 145 pounds. So there is that. The advantages he has over Moicano. Moicano, tall, rangy, excellent striker. I like his combinations. Knocked down Cub Swanson with a jab. Has real power. But he had trouble with the speed and power of Brian Ortega, who, while powerful, isn't the fastest guy at 145 pounds. He doesn't have blinding speed, and Moicano had trouble with that speed. Also, Moicano really leans on that lead leg a lot. Very heavy on the lead leg. Jose Aldo doesn't kick like he used to. I had Ken Flo on the show, the Luke Thomas show, and he talked about the scooter accident in Brazil. Hasn't kicked as much since then. But if he's going to go back to it, if there's one fighter where that leg kick will be devastating, it's Renato Moicano. I really think if he gets his leg kick going, he's got a great shot in this fight. So I'm giving him a much better chance than a lot of other pundits, I think, would. And also a better chance than I would normally give a fighter at Jose Aldo's stage. The main event, Marlon Moraes, Raphael Assuncao. To me, this is about momentum. When you look at the first fight, it wasn't a particularly memorable fight. It wasn't a great fight. Close, back and forth. Neither guy really got comfortable in the pocket. Neither guy really got past the legs well. Neither fighter was really that comfortable with their combinations. If you've seen Unforgiven, great Western, there's a scene where a guy with one arm, they're getting ready for a gunfight, he's loading all these guns, and one of his partners, one of his posse says, "How come you got 4 guns and you got 1 arm?" And he says, "I ain't getting killed for lack of shooting back." Marlon Moraes, you got the sense in the first fight with Raphael Assuncao, got killed for lack of shooting back. At the end of that fight, he had more bullets in the gun, and he didn't fire them. I think the same with Assuncao, but Assuncao is more that kind of guy. Tends to win by decision, tends to win close fights. Beat TJ Dillashaw, split decision, very close fight. That's how he tends to win. So that wasn't an uncharacteristic fight for him. It was an uncharacteristic fight for Moraes. And since then, what happens? He blows out Aljamain Sterling, minute, destroys Jimmy Rivera in 30 seconds. He's kind of, after those UFC jitters, he kind of returned to the Marlon Moraes that we saw get the UFC deal, who was an outstanding free agent. So I think Marlon Moraes has gotten comfortable with his weaponry, and we don't see that kind of approach this time. I think he might not finish, obviously, Assuncao was a great fighter, but I think he outworks him. I don't think he was comfortable with his combinations. He wasn't flowing the way we normally see him flow. If he does that, I think he outworks Assuncao. I really do. I think he outworks him. Might not finish him, but outworks him. And he's confident with his range. We saw that against Rivera, that head kick, boom. Great timing, great accuracy. That's something we didn't see the first time in the first Assuncao fight. So Assuncao has kind of been on a good, solid, elite level since the Moraes fight. Moraes kind of did this. He really got comfortable. So I think momentum is with Marlon Moraes, and I think the style favors Marlon Moraes. So he'd be my pick. I'm going with Jose Aldo. That might be more heart than head, but I'm going with Jose Aldo to kind of rejuvenate his career in 3-rounders. And I'm going with Marlon Moraes simply because he's more comfortable with his offense now in his UFC career. I think that's a little too much for Raphael Assuncao. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me know what you think. Also, give me stuff you want to hear about. You know, anything fight-related, non-fight related, I don't give a shit. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to share with the fans. Anyway, great to be back. It was great on SiriusXM. Luke Thomas, I love you. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for reaching out and giving me that opportunity. But, hey, now it's about the fans. Appreciate you guys.